color. And then we have a budget attached to this as well. And Patsy will do that in just a little bit. Okay, let's see. I would like to call the meeting to order, and with an opening prayer, Reverend Bob.
So let's once again get centered. And let's follow that loving, nurturing, still small voice within us as we elect new board members and as we move forward into 2023. We open our hearts in gratitude for this wonderful spiritual cooperative. And we release this prayer now, knowing perfect results are unfolding. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, sir. First in order is approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any additional items to put on the agenda?
I move that we approve the agenda.
Okay, Danny approves, now moves to approve the agenda. Tina seconds. Okay, all in favor, say, raise your hand. There we go. I can see you better there. Okay, Article 5, Section 1C of our bylaws states annual meetings shall be an annual meeting each year. And a quorum, those active members present or can constitute a quorum for the transaction of business to any annual meeting. Raise your hand if you're an active member. Okay. And it's my opinion as chair to say that we have a quorum for voting. And election of officers. The nominating committee is going to make recommendations. Anita, if you would come up and give us your board nominating committee information and candidates.
Members of this year's nominating committee have been Tina Thompson, me, Anita Poe, as membership representative and chair of the committee. In accord with our bylaws, we start this process by reading aloud this section of the bylaws. Section 10A and D, nomination and election of board members. Qualifications. To be eligible to be elected to the Board of Trustees, a person must have been an active member of Unity Church of the Hill Country. In addition, candidates for election shall endeavor to live in accord with Jesus Christ's principles of love, truth, as taught by Unity, and work to further the purpose of this ministry through active interest, love, and support. Be a sincere and continuing student of Unity always, remaining conversant with its teachings, and shall have demonstrated leadership capabilities. Election procedure. The election shall be by ballot if there are more than 2 nominees. The result of the vote shall be announced to the annual meeting. Of the 6 seats on our board, we have 1 two-term and 2 3-term terms, 3-year terms currently available. Mr. Chairman, I move we nominate these 3 members to serve on the Board of Trustees. Connie Lucas, Patsy Sherman, to 3-year terms, and Judy Johnson to a 2-year term. And I turn back to the chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Also, is there any additional nomination or candidates that you would like to nominate from the floor? If not, any nominations? Then we can elect the slate by a vote rather than by ballots. Do I hear a motion from the floor to accept the slate of recommendations from the nominating committee? Wait a minute, Judy Johnson, Connie Lucas, and Patsy Sherman to be elected to the Board of Trustees by acclamation.
I move that we nominate them by acclamation.
Okay, Paul moves to be nominated. Who second? Oh, Patsy, okay. All in favor, say yay and raise your hand. Okay, any that oppose? No opposition? So, the yeas have it, the motion is passed. Judy and Connie, welcome to the Board of Trustees. Patsy, welcome back. Okay, there's also, in our bylaws, we need to choose a representative for next year on the nominating committee and an alternate. So, Section 10B of the bylaws, nominating of elections, nominated minister team, an annual membership meeting, the membership shall select from among the active members of the ministry, one member and one alternate to serve for the nominating committee. Team for the following year of election. In the event a person elected to serve becomes unavailable, then the alternate will then take their place and will elect that person from amongst the active members. Who is not current member will, if for some reason the alternate cannot be here as well, then the board can elect a person to serve on the board. Do I hear a recommendation from the floor for one member to serve on the nominating committee for 2024? That's next year. Anybody want to make a nomination?
I nominate Donna Lamb.
Okay, Donna Lamb, okay. Anyone else? Donna, or would you choose to be on that committee?
Yeah, it depends upon when it meets, because I do work full time
It'll meet in December, or November or December,
during the day or.
or the evening, or whenever you would like it. You'll be the chairperson. You can choose.
I'm the chairperson. Okay, sure.
Okay, all in favor of Donna Lamb becoming a chairperson of the nominating committee for next year? Raise your hand. All right, that passes. We're good. All right, there's an alternate. Who would like, there's a nomination for an alternate. Does anybody have a nomination for an alternate? Okay, who would like to make the nomination? Okay,
Yeah, we nominate you, Jack.
okay, so I will accept the nomination for the alternate. Okay, all in favor? All right. Oh, that was a big eye there. All right, thank you. All right, now let's go to the treasurer's report. Patsy, are you ready to give your presentation? And you have, on your handout, you have the budget for next year, so she's going to talk about that as well.
Of course, everybody knows this is the best part of the whole meeting, numbers. But what I'm going to try to do is keep it descriptive and take as many numbers out of it so you can visually see things in charts and graphs without looking at numbers, because I know numbers just go whoop. Okay, first thing I wanted to do is, since we haven't had a real sit-down in the room annual meeting for a few years, I wanted to go over the last 5 years just so you can get a little grasp of where we are and where we came from. So if you notice in 2018, the line in blue is our income, which was approximately 30,000 more than the line in the orange, which is the expenses. So we were doing very well back in 2018. In 2019, everything started shifting a little bit. Our expenses started going up a little bit. And if you look, our donations and income was pretty much about the same all the way about halfway through 2019. March of 2020 was when COVID hit, and that's when everything started going helter-skelter. And as you can see, the income started dropping because nobody was in the building. There wasn't as a lot as expenses that we had to have, electricity, water, various different things. The income started dropping as well. Unfortunately, when people weren't coming in on Sundays, they weren't giving. And this is a very dramatic explanation to show when the doors shut, the people shut down, unfortunately, in their giving. Even though we still had expenses, we still had electricity, we still had insurance, we still had our expenses, our donations were going down. So in 2021, we were getting, as you notice, the expenses. We were working very, very hard on trying to find what we could cut out as much as possible. Volunteers started working in the yards, doing the cutting and all of that and everything. There was a lot of things that we were doing that we tried not having to pay for, which was working pretty well. If you notice that the income was still continuously dropping, I just wanted to let you know into 20 and 21, we were receiving through COVID government loans that through the bank system and through the government, we were getting grants. We got one, I think it was 10,000, and then we got one that was 5,000. So even though this was going down, some of this was being subsidized by the government, which was helping us keep going. I don't even want to think what was happening if we didn't get those subsidies. So that was a big help right there. Now in 2021 to 2022, you notice our income stopped at a bottom and started leveling off. This is when we started doing Facebook. This is when people started participating in church, even though it was not here in the building, but it was still being available to everybody. So, and our expenses went really down. And that was in 2021. If you notice, our expenses dropped down to 96,000. So I want to thank the board and everyone that was involved in making sure that our expenses was cut down to a bare bones minimum to help us get through all of this. We lost our minister. We were looking for a new minister. So if you look in the end of 2021 and 2022, our expenses started going back up again. That was because we had to pay for ministers to come in. Even if it was on Facebook, we still had to pay them to provide our Sunday services. We had to obtain I forgot what she's called. Transition specialist, I'm sorry, to help us do the searches and looks and how to get the congregation to put everything together to look for a minister, the application, the submission of into Unity for what we were looking for and all of that. Then we did find, if you look in 2022, we did find a minister. Some of that expenses also incurred was to have the minister moved here. So we paid for all the moving costs and all of that to get the minister here.
We also had a grant for that as well.
Yes, we also had we was able to get a grant from that was subsidized, so that kind of canceled out our expenses that we had to, so that was a good thing. That was another thing that the board, Jack, and I'm not sure who else, to get all these grants, to get all this stuff, to find all these ways of getting reimbursed for all this money. So,
Bob gave us the secret.
Bob, okay. So anyway, everybody was working together this whole time to find money and to get us where we wouldn't have to lock that door and say goodbye. Then, as you notice, in 2022, our income has been leveled off to about a little less than $100,000, so it's at 88. So from 2021 to 2022, our income still is about the same. Now, if you notice, it shoots up in 2023, and the expenses and income kind of cuts. This is because of the budget. The 2023, and I'll go over that later, is the budget. We've sat down and worked with Reverend Bob, and we've decided now that everything is starting to get back into the swing and the church is open and everybody's starting to come back. The giving is starting to come back in. We're working on that, and the expenses are going to have to start going up a little bit. We hired a music director. We've still got our sound person, we still have the minister, we have a music director, we have a administrative assistant, and we have a bookkeeper. So we still have all these expenses that we really didn't have as much when the doors were shut and we were trying to keep our, so now our expenses are starting to go back up. We're wanting to do some more programs this year to help bring people in. So we all worked together and we approved a budget, which I'll go through, but that's the reason why it shoots up and meets in the middle up there, is because that's a balanced budget. Now,
We're going to have some fundraisers,
we're going to have some
which
fundraisers.
is going to help with that. No.
Yes. We have goals. Reverend Bob's got things in his little, I call it the Mary Poppins bag, to pull out to help things this upcoming year. Okay, for 2022, just to let you know how this last year has gone, now that we know our background, where we came from, just to get you an idea, this last year, how much, next slide? Yeah. Our expenses were versus our income. So now that you can kind of see in a pie chart how much the expenses were compared to how much income we were getting, to try to get you to understand that income is very, very important to keep our doors open. If it isn't for your contributions, we wouldn't be able to be here. And this is not my place, this is not Jack's place, this is not Reverend Bob's place, this is our place. So it's up to us. And I'm not going to go into that, that's Reverend Bob's department. But anyway, next slide. Just to let you know, I'm breaking it down so you can see where all the money that comes into the church, where it comes from. And as you can see in the blue section, this comes from us. Very, very little of it comes from miscellaneous and other things. The miscellaneous is the grants and things like that. Interest, 1% from banks and investments. Fundraisers, 4%. Classes that we hold during the week, 2%. So 81% of the income that's needed to make this church run comes from every individual. And so that's why I wanted to try to show this to you so you realize how important where our income is coming from. Next slide. Now the expenses, I wanted you to see the income. Now I want you to see where your money goes. The blue is administrative, which is the salaries. The minister, the administrative assistant, the music director, the bookkeeper, and who am I missing? Oh, the minister. Most of it is salaries, and that's kind of fixed. We can't really lower somebody's salary or cut their hours. It's, that's kind of set. Operational expenses, that is insurance, office, utilities, water, everything that it takes to run everything is under operational expenses. Department and teams, that is the expenses for ministry things, like certain seminars that we hold and stuff, the expenses that may incur on that, tithing. The church, everything that you give us, 10% of that goes back out, whether it's to Unity Worldwide or ministries or local charities. 10% of everything that you give goes back out for something else, and that's out of the departments and teams. Is there any questions that anybody has so far? Okay. And also, if you want a complete, total breakdown of everything, it is available to you upon request. Just ask Brad in the office, and he'll be happy to give you a complete breakdown so you can see everything line item by line item if you want. And, yeah, that is the budget, the proposed budget for next year. But that does give you a breakdown of the items that we do budget for. Even though the numbers for next year's proposal, that does give you an itemized list. Next slide, admin expenses. Basically, this is me breaking down the prior chart. The admin expenses is broken down as far as the salaries and things. The blue is the pastoral salaries. The yellow, no, the orange, I'm sorry. My printout come out yellow and that's orange, is conventions and seminars. Once a year, the minister goes, twice, okay, I'm sorry, twice a year, there is a unity convention that the minister is sent to get information from whatever there is at the,
Enhances knowledge and so forth, and education.
yes,
Yes,
he knows all that. I just know the numbers.
it's okay.
Then the green is staff salaries. That's the audiovisual guy. That is the administrative secretary, Brad. That is Melaine, the bookkeeper. That's the music director, and I forgot what her name is. I'm sorry. Melinda. I should know that. I got a daughter named Melinda. So anyway, that helps give you a breakdown of the administrative expenses where they actually get dispersed out to. Next slide. Then we move to the operational expenses, and as you can see, the bulk of it is utilities. The lights, the water, the telephone, the internet, all of that. That is the bulk. We can't alter that. We can cut the water down as little as possible, which this last year by, Paul, I want you to stand up. Give Paul a big thank you. And Jack, you stand up too. Between Paul and Jack, the outdoor irrigation system, that's water sprinklers, we found leaks, we had excessive water bills, and between these two guys, they got it all fixed, they took care of it. Moment's notice, something doesn't right, I would get a bill and I'd make a phone call. This doesn't sound right, this doesn't look right. And they would go check and find out, sure enough. So these two guys were great this last year, taking care of all that stuff and everything.
Also plumbing and electrical work and IT work and.
You repaired the toilets, I think?
I repair the toilets and everything.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we got a great in-house,
Jack of all trades.
yes. Building expenses is we have to pay for, is it twice a year, we have to pay for the inspections of our fire system and our security systems and all of that. That's a requirement. The fire marshal comes in and does an inspection. We have to replace extinguishers, batteries, different things. So there is ongoing expenses that we have to maintain the building according to laws and regulations. Insurance. The building has to be insured. We have liability, we have fire, everything. So as you notice, the very large portions of this is finite. It's the small little areas that we try to cut down as much, but as you know, it doesn't look like. Computer expenses is website. So you can see us on Facebook every Sunday. So you can go to the website and see what's going on in activities. We did, thanks to Reverend Bob, changed web hosts to, I think it was cut more than half.
It was like 70%, wasn't it?
Yeah, he found us a great new web host that did our new design and everything for our new website that was a whole lot less expensive than the other one that we had. So we have been working, we have been finding out ways we can cut and still maintain the same quality that we have been used to. We're not cutting quality, we're just trimming the fat, yes. We're being good stewards, so we're working on that.
Can I say this, it's the
Yes.
whole board that's doing this as well.
Yes,
Patsy guides us through those financials a lot, though.
I think they hate me because I'm a numbers person, and if I can't find a penny, I'm gonna find that penny. I don't know where it is, but I'm gonna find it, and
It's like a hound dog, and she sniffs it out, I guarantee you.
We chased $27 around the block for about 6 months.
Yep.
Where was it? Where was it?
I don't remember, but it was kind of like a duh. When I went, oh, duh, It was added with something over here, and it was by itself over here, and I thought, well, I don't see it. Where is
So
it?
she chased down $27.37 and finally figured out where it went.
Yeah.
So, and that's that hound dog there.
Now, the ground maintenance, if you look, there's a tiny little green.
Yeah.
That's thank you to Paul. Mirror Garden donates. They coming out and doing the landscaping, the mowing of the grass. They donate the cost. So we don't have to pay landscapers to come out and do anything. Everything else we do manually by volunteers. So right now, our maintenance is just the cost of replacing shower heads, sprinkler heads, plumbing, whatever it is, the maintenance cost. So that would be a lot more if it wasn't for some of our members. So I do want to put a big thank you out to everybody that has had anything to do with keeping us afloat the last couple of years, because if it wasn't for them, I really don't know if we'd be where we are right now. Next slide. The departments and teams. This will give you a better idea of the 10% of ties. The department teams, by the way, was $20,834. Out of that $20,000, the largest portion of it was tithes, that 10% of your giving that goes out to the community. The blue section is music. We actually, let's see, this goes to, like for instance, we have to pay for licensing. Facebook, we can't put music and have it play through Facebook and people see it at home without paying for the licensing privileges of using that music. And I really don't remember what music sheets and stuff for the music director, seminars and stuff that we're going to be sending the music director to get information and stuff this upcoming year. And then ministry expenses is like I had said before, it's for doing seminars and classes and reaching out to the community, different things that, like gift cards that the church purchases to give to during church, Christmas time. Things like that comes out of the ministry expense and everything. And is there any questions so far? Have I lost everybody? Oh, okay.
Very good, very simple.
Okay. Now, on the agenda, that's the financials. Do I need to approve the financials before the budget? No? Okay. Now,
Budget.
now we can move on to the budget.
For this year, 2023.
Basically, I didn't do a slideshow for the budget. It's kind of like the same that you just saw for 2022, except more numbers as far as amount, but basically the same. So you can go through here, and you can look, and it gives you a little bit more specific of the breakdown of each department, each group categories, and how much everything is going to be for the upcoming year. As you can see, the income is straightforward, one page, real simple of where the money comes from. It's when you go to the next page and see all the expenses that it's totally broke down in a very detailed format. So you can take your time, look it over. Reverend Bob and I took us 2 months to work on the expenses part because, like Jack said, I'm a numbers person, and I'm a person that's like, do we really need that? Can we do without that? That's going to cost some more money. But Reverend Bob and I, we met in the middle. I did a lot of meditating. I'm sure he probably did a lot of meditating because of having to deal with me. So I thank him very much. He would come over at the house, and we would sit, and I don't know. I'll pray on that. I'll think about it. And then I would, and then the next time, okay, I understand. I get it. We're not going to move forward if we don't take, yes.
I see a $3,000 cost for telephone. Spectrum would give us one for $25 if we do the ENET with it. My question is, why is that $3,000 for telephone? I'm just curious.
Brad, would you like, he actually did a study. We went out and actually did look at other services for phone and internet.
I'm not arguing the.
No.
No, I hear you.
No, I want you to ask questions. I really do.
The long and the short of that is that the local provider gives us much better service than Spectrum. And I've had to do a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff with a lot of internet stuff. We have 5 phone lines, and some of them are for the fire system, just so that's immediately notified.
All right.
So there's certain things that, I had some IT problems not too long ago, and I was really pleased with the service that I got from Hill Country Telephone, and in pretty much the same day, I had an experience with Spectrum that was very bad on the customer service end. So for our needs, it kind of makes sense to stick with the local folks that are more willing to help us than the cheaper price overhead, but that's gonna rocket up after the contract time anyway, so.
Yeah, because that's what we did a few months back, is we wanted to look out and see if there was better prices, better rates with any of the others, and that was one of them we looked at. And that was the conclusion after we did the due diligence of the study. But we did, but thank you. No, that's why I say, and like the lines that are designated, so if we have a fire alarm go off and the phone connects to the fire department immediately and everything. Those are very important. And we really don't want to cut corners on that. But okay. Now, I really do encourage you to have questions. And anytime throughout the year, pick up the phone, call me, call Brad, call the minister. You know, if you have questions on any of this stuff, I really do want you to be part of the congregation and ask. And yes,
We also take volunteers. Anybody wants to take one of these and take it on to themselves?
yes. Okay, so anyway, the total expenses, basically, came to $147,750. In order to do a balanced budget, to pay for all of that, you have to bring the income to that. So that is where Reverend Bob's job is for the next year, is to make sure that our income is going to meet our expenses. So he's got his job yeah. So anybody that can help Reverend Bob with the budget balancing this year, greatly encourage everyone. Is there anything on the upcoming budget for 2023 that anybody has any concerns or questions or anything about? Okay, well, thank you very much.
You can put it before the vote to approve the budget. The board has already approved it, but the congregation needs to approve it as well.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the 2023 budget.
I would second it.
Okay.
Anybody else out here?
Anybody? Any questions? No? Second? Okay. Everybody in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Thank you very much. And I don't know how much of this
Don't touch this
is
one.
mine.
You got it?
I think I got mine.
This yours?
I don't know.
It's okay. I'll let you have some more.
Okay. Okay.
Just for information, we as a goal wanted a 35% increase in our budget, okay, that we could meet based on the expectations this year. Also, our goal was to have 5 new members this year. Well, we've already accomplished that.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. So we're going to maybe go for 5 more, maybe, or at least, so we've already accomplished just in 1 month. So that's fantastic. Okay, minister's report.
I had, as Patsy very well put, I was twisting her arms and, and just, but the key is, kind of like I was talking about in the lesson this morning, it's like, there needs to be a firmament. Let's make the space, let's set the intention for this to be. And so looking over like the expenses and looking over at least raising everybody's, salary by the rate of inflation, and just, I think I shared this when I was interviewing, but I know when I served the congregation in Indianapolis, we had a similar situation. First year was kind of like, and I challenged the board to raise the budget by 30%, and we, by the end of the year, the count was that it had gone up 26.5%. So, but it was the following year that was the amazing one. That was when the economy was getting kind of lousy. We did some prosperity classes, and we ended up getting a bequest of $300,000 that following year. So the idea is to build the consciousness and just know that the money is going to be there some way, somehow. I remember there's this old trope about a minister saying, "Oh, the revenues are going up. It's just in your pockets." It's like, well, expand, think big, because sometimes here was this woman who had been a member of the congregation for many years, and it was just in her will, $300,000 or 30% of my estate, to Unity of Indianapolis. So So know and trust that somehow, some way, we're going to see this through. And what I need most of all from you is just prayer support, being willing to hold that in your prayers, just seeing the revenues enough that, that we top $150,000 in revenues this year. Now, one thing that, we really forgot to mention earlier is I think we finally have got the hearing systems taken care of, the glitches out of it. They had sent us an invoice, and, we had worked with the manufacturer, but we were still having problems, So about 2 weeks ago, Brad, they had called, where's our money kind of a thing. They did it more kindly than that. but here we raised $4,000 for this thing. They upgraded us because of the earlier problems with the supply chain, but I left a message on the woman's voicemail. She wasn't there. I said, we feel very good. It's like you came out and delivered us a new car. The problem is you forgot to leave us the keys. And so they came out here on Friday and but much better prepared than they were before. It turned out it was some software glitches and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just.
It was broadcasting on multiple frequencies.
Oh, okay.
Interfering with itself.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we knew we had some radio interference or somewhere, but so it was actually coming from within the system, but they finally got it all ironed out. So I encourage you, if you do have people who want to be able to hear, this is the place to come. You can use it, usually through your hearing aids, like Carla's cochlear implants. She can hear it straight in her ears, so at any rate. And speaking of which, I'm starting the prosperity discussion groups. I've found people prefer to just get together and talk about a book rather than, doing a regimented course. So that's going to be starting this week. Choose a time. We'll see as things shake out, what are the better times for everybody. But I thought this is important, for us to, to build that prosperity consciousness. Another concern of the boards was that there had been this savings account, a reserve fund, and it has dwindled considerably. It's down to, what is it, about 10,000 or where? Okay, I was going to say, we just went below 20,000. Yeah. It did its job. There's something fascinating about that, and there are many examples in the Bible. I mean, Joseph, right there, in Genesis, it's like, oh boy, we're going to have a 7-year drought. We better store enough grain to make sure everybody can be fed during that 7-year drought. So those are the things that happen. It's kind of a love-hate relationship. It's like, okay, go ahead and build a reserve fund, but be prepared that we're probably going to need the reserve fund at some point. But that's why the congregation is still here. Between your faith, your prayers, and just the willingness to know that somehow, some way we'll do it. All right, now, a couple things I just want to touch on quickly. I've been talking about this in the orientation, but as a congregation, we want to grow. We want to have higher revenues. There is a theory called family system, and that is that in any congregation, regardless of the denomination, people subconsciously are trying to heal their childhood stuff. And so when someone's in your face and you're like, I don't know what they're talking about here, recognize that they may be projecting something on you that happened with their siblings. And for me and for Carla as ministers, we get all of the parent and authority figure stuff, So that's why being able to actually practice what we preach about patience and opening our hearts in love, when someone's suddenly on our case about something. And I was sharing with well, that would get into that. I don't want to prolong this any longer than we need to. But there's this concept of the 4 T's, being willing to tithe of our time, our talent, and our treasure. So I just encourage you to keep doing that. And I was very proud of you this morning with our first timer. I saw several of you going up and having a conversation. It is so important for people who come for the first time to connect with other people and get the sense that if they don't show up next week, we'll come looking for them. No, I'm kidding. but they'll notice that somebody probably will notice that they're not around, So be willing to just like say, continue to volunteer, to continue to do your meditation and prayer work, and then just be willing to, to give financially as you can. I know as doing, we have this young couple that just started coming, and they're having some challenging things financially, so they're asking, well, how much should we give? And I said, well, it all balances out. I could say, okay, if everybody gave $30 a week, we'd be fine, but I know that there's some people that can't afford $5 this week, but others that can afford 500, so let's not play that game. Let's go ahead and just... Now, it's important for me to thank people. I know already we've been singled out Paul Doyle over here. Paul, you have just been amazing in so many ways. When you stepped up to take the search team, when what was his name? I'm trying to remember the guy was that had to move to Tyler, Texas. But yeah, so, and like you say, I am amazed at just what a wonderful job you do of just making sure everything's taken care of. I know they're not here, but I want to thank, Patty and Eddie Edwards. They've been very wise counsel. We ministers like to commiserate with each other. Or no, just, the idea of being able to bounce something off us. I know Carla and I, it's been an interesting couple of weeks. One of our seminary classmates died rather suddenly out in Reno, Nevada, and another one retired. He's the same age as me. And he's been going for 20 years straight, and in that 20 years, he got married and had kids and all of that. So yeah, we were communicating with him about he kind of felt like he had burned out and didn't take good enough care of himself. So he's going to take some time now. The music team. Lynn, I so much appreciate you being willing to step back in, come out of retirement and get things going. And of course, we've got Mandy and Carol, Marion, where did I put this?
Sue Kaplan.
Yeah, here it is. Okay, I mixed up my categories. Sue Kaplan, Carol, Marion, Mandy, and then of course the whole Russell family. I mean, we have really got you roped in. I mean, Josh on or Dave on AV, and you, Mandy. I really appreciate your believing, in us and what we're doing. And then, of course, we have a staff. We have Jerry Langtote, who's, takes care of cleaning this place. Once every 2 weeks, she comes in and gives us a scrubbing. Brad Gilbert. I am so grateful that we're walking the path together. It's just astonishing to me, your dedication, your willingness to go that extra mile, and like you were talking about earlier, comparing Spectrum with the Hill Country Telephone Company, it was just, she was helping out somebody who was having difficulty with their cell phone, and they had their service through Spectrum, and Spectrum was not being very helpful. So yeah, those kinds of things. It's like, yeah, they can. Now the Board of Trustees. Stu Walker, I know, stepped off after having COVID a couple of times. So got to know him and Carol a little bit, but sad that they decided to move on. We've got Tina. Tina, I appreciate everything that you have been doing. I mean, your background, your willingness to and Carolyn Bailey. Carolyn is the, how should we say this? You bring a prayer consciousness to all you do, and I appreciate reminding us all, especially in board meetings. It's like, wait a minute, what are we here to do? And being willing to get the 10-15 meditation thing started here on Sunday mornings. So yeah, thank you very much. Danny Donovan. I appreciate you. I appreciate also just the length of your service here and being able to give me some insights and counsel, on things and how things have evolved to the point that we're at, And Patsy, wow. When Carla and I moved here, we stayed with Patsy for about a week. Just seeing, and of course, with Doug just passing away here a few weeks ago, all that you are handling, and handling brilliantly at the same time. Your willingness to let me stretch the possibilities of the finances, and your willingness to carry things over since you've immersed yourself so much in the treasurer's thing. And then there's Jack Porter. Jack, of course, I have noticed over the years in other congregations and the ones I've served that God, in divine order, places the proper person in the president's spot whenever a congregation is going through a transition. It's astonishing, and you were astonishing to me. I mean, from walking me through just getting here, I mean, Carla and I were really in deep financial straits there as we were moving here, and Jack had to kind of talk me off the ledge a couple of times, but got here, and I've noticed, like we mentioned before, with Paul and you making sure things are that, and Jane is probably very pissed that you spend so much time with us. But he's doing his service, his sacred service. I have been looking for a gift for you for a few weeks. Kind of like the process we're doing. It's like, okay, I know and trust that I'm going to see and know the right gift for you. And I realize you've been kind of like a guardian angel here. And so what I got you was a little figurine of an angel. So, so that Jane will approve of it is the aesthetics of the house, but just something little that you can look at and remember how much we love you and appreciate you. Patsy, you look like you wanted to say something.
I wanted everybody to know that he has remained president when he didn't need to be president. Because he's been president way too long, and he assumed it during the COVID and everything afterwards because we needed stability, and he took it upon himself to stay in that position and take care of everybody. So I really appreciate Jack for staying with the board and staying as president and doing everything that he possibly could to help everybody stay afloat. So, I guess.
Even I know, I don't have any, contact with the board, but we wouldn't be open without you, Jack. And that, that is the God's honest truth, so thank you.
I always appreciate somebody who's humble in the situation. I prefer that to someone who's gloating.
And on top of all that, he's just a really nice.
Yes, true.
Passionate, wonderful man.
Yes, that's what we're trying to do. I mean, damn it, cry, man, cry. There is one more person in the room I have to thank, and that's Carla Golden. 36 and a half years ago we met, and she has excruciatingly drawn the best out of me, despite my best efforts. And just, it's so nice to have a unity minister in the house, and we over years have recognized when, hey, we're both in the same lifeboat, we need to reach out for help to other people. So thank you, Carla. Thank you for being the love of my life. Thank you for being the sexiest woman in Kerrville. So, and I want to thank all of you. As I've emphasized since getting here, this is a spiritual cooperative. I come here to serve, to help you in various ways that I can, and flexible enough every week to just allow whatever plans I had for the day be thrown out the window if one of you needs help or needs to be served. So thank you for empowering the board to hire me to serve you. Jack? Oh, yeah, and I really should say, guys, I love it here. I do. My God, you were talking, like, say, with the one guy who's just retiring, and just these first 6 to 8 months here have been comforting. I see the dedication in all of you, and it's just, I feel like I've been sowing seeds for a lot of years, and now finally I'm being able to reap a crop. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Whew, I don't know if I can finish. I do have a short presentation, okay, very, very short. So throw the slides up. All right. Okay, well, I'm just part of the board, okay? The board is a whole, and the board has really come forward here the last 2 or 3 years. So that's why, the main goal was to keep those doors open. We did it. Did it. To establish a core Unity ministers and LUT to continue live in the fall. So we brought in people from Austin, from San Antonio, and they were wonderful, you know, and they were a core, and if someone couldn't make it, they called somebody and they made it. They just flopped. So it was really, really good. So we kept the doors open from 21 to 22. This is the goals of the board and also the accomplishments that we did. The board president took over the administrative part of it. And that was hard. But we did it again, right? We did it. Established fundraisers. We had a garage sale. We had a ladies clothing exchange. We put that money right into the operations of the organization. Next one. Oh, we brought back the choir.
Yay!
And that was Mandy kept hounding and hounding and hounding it. Bring it back, bring it back. So thank you, Mandy. We brought in an administrative assistant that Cecile made a recommendation. We didn't even have to go out and look for it. Brad was there, and he said, I will take it. And he's run with it.
Yeah.
So, search for a new minister. We hired one. Reverend Bob and Reverend Carla together as a team. We replaced the bookkeeper, not because the other bookkeeper resigned. So, and I had another word for replace, and I guess that got wrong on slides, but, and we found one here, right here in our monks, Maylene, right? Yeah, so, and she's doing it free gratis for us to help out the budget. So we thank you so much for that. And one of our goals is to increase the operational capital by re-establishing tithing and new memberships. And we already accomplished one of the goals of 5 new members, so we've got maybe 5 more to go. Let's do more, maybe 5, maybe 10, maybe 15. Yeah, Carolyn is our motivator there. She's our motivator. She's the one that said, let's do 35% increase. Let's get 5 members right away. And we did. We had an affirmation, and we did. It worked. It worked. Yes. And then the hearing system. Thank goodness, Friday we got it fixed. And all it was software update to this little tiny little thing up there in that black box. And once they did that, it took 2 hours to find somebody, a guru, to the manufacturer in order to get that done. And they finally got it down, and all of a sudden we don't hear them in our ears. All we hear is a nice Reverend Bob's voice in our ears. So, that's all I have. It's short and sweet and to the point. And thank you all of y'all, for helping out and keeping these doors open, because y'all did it as well. It wasn't just one person or a board of 6 people. It was everyone that did that this year. Danny. Danny says he moves to adjourn. Anybody want to second that? Second. And all in favor? All right. You all go out and have fun today. It's beautiful.
Sunshine.
Board's gonna meet in,
Oh, yeah, the board's going to meet right after this. Before you get away, board, it's going to be a short meeting for electing officers, hopefully.